There exists a war beyond what the eyes can see, a battle, not of flesh and blood, but of unseen forces that influence the course of your life. The enemy of your soul does not always appear as a roaring lion. More often, he is a whisper in the dark, a shadow lurking in the patterns of your daily life. Many believe that spiritual attacks only come in the form of sudden disasters, but often the strategy is far more subtle. Monitoring spirits unseen, watchers observe habits, weaknesses, and even spoken words, seeking the right moment to plant seeds of doubt, fear, and destruction. Have you ever noticed recurring failures in certain areas of your life? Failed relationships that follow the same pattern? Opportunities slipping away just before breakthrough? These are not always natural occurrences. Sometimes they are the result of unseen forces gathering information to keep you bound. The most effective attacks do not come through force, but through manipulation. Fear is whispered into the ears of those on the verge of success, making them doubt their abilities. Opportunities for growth are masked with distractions, entertainment, fruitless arguments, or even seemingly good things that pull one away from their true calling. What if I told you that every time you feel overwhelmed, uncertain, or discouraged, there is a voice behind it? Not every thought you think is your own. Some have been planted, carefully placed to derail you from your purpose. Evil only thrives where it is permitted. A person who believes the lies whispered into their heart unknowingly agrees with them. I am not good enough. I will never succeed. These statements are not harmless. They are declarations that grant access to spiritual attacks. What you speak, you strengthen. What you believe, you become. The greatest victory of the enemy is when a person becomes their own prisoner by embracing falsehoods. The most dangerous prison is the one you cannot see. Many people dismiss these forces as superstition, unaware that by doing so, they remain vulnerable. The enemy operates best when unnoticed, for a man who does not see his chains will never seek to break them. What if the struggles in your life were not just physical, but deeply spiritual? What if the key to breaking free was not just hard work, but wisdom and discernment? Awareness is the first step to freedom. Once you recognize the patterns of attack, you must resist them with authority. Doubt must be countered with faith. Fear must be silenced with truth. Negative declarations must be replaced with words of life. The battle for your future is real, but so is your power to overcome it. No weapon formed against you can prosper if you refuse to give it permission. The enemy only has as much power as you allow. The mind is the most significant battlefield in spiritual warfare. It is where thoughts are planted, beliefs are shaped, and decisions are made. Every action a person takes is first conceived in the mind, making it the primary target of attack. The enemy does not need to physically harm someone to derail their destiny. All he needs to do is influence their thoughts. A person does not wake up one morning and suddenly abandon their purpose. The process is gradual, beginning with a seed of doubt, fear, or discouragement. Negative thoughts are introduced, subtly whispers in the mind that seem harmless at first, but over time grow into strongholds. I am not capable. What if I fail? No one will support me. These thoughts are not always self-generated. Many are strategically placed by forces that seek to hinder progress. The mind is like fertile soil. Whatever is planted in it will eventually bear fruit. If doubt is planted consistently, it will grow into hesitation. If fear is nurtured, it will develop into paralysis. The greatest deception is making someone believe that these thoughts are their own, when in reality, they are external influences designed to manipulate their choices. The battle for the mind is not about obvious demonic possession. It is about subtle influence. Monitoring spirits observe patterns and weaknesses, waiting for the right moment to introduce destructive thoughts. These thoughts often come at crucial moments before a major opportunity, during times of transition, or when a person is on the verge of breakthrough. They are not random. They are calculated attacks meant to steer a person off course. One of the most dangerous weapons in this battle is the lie. Lies are powerful because they shape reality. If a person believes they are incapable, they will act accordingly. If they believe they are alone, they will isolate themselves. Lies do not have to be true to be effective, they only need to be believed. The mind does not distinguish between truth and deception on its own, it simply processes whatever it is fed. This is why the enemy does not need to control a person's circumstances only, their perception of them. The battle intensifies when negative thoughts are repeated. The more often a thought is entertained, the stronger it becomes. A single doubt may seem insignificant, but when it is reinforced daily, it begins to shape identity. A person who constantly hears you are not enough will eventually accept it as truth. This is why some people remain trapped in cycles of failure, not because they are incapable, but because they have been convinced that they are. The mind is also a place where agreements are made. Whatever a person accepts mentally, they empower spiritually. If someone agrees with fear, they give it a foothold in their life. If they embrace insecurity, they invite limitations. These agreements are often made unconsciously, yet they determine the trajectory of a person's life. The enemy knows that if he can get a person to agree with his lies, he does not need to attack them. Directly they will sabotage themselves. Another tactic used in this battle is confusion. The enemy thrives in ambiguity, creating uncertainty where there should be clarity. A person who knows their purpose is dangerous. A person who is unsure of it is easily manipulated. Doubt leads to hesitation, and hesitation leads to missed opportunities. Many great callings have been delayed, not because of external opposition, but because of internal indecision. The mind is also attacked through past experiences. Pain, trauma, and rejection are not just events, they are open doors for spiritual manipulation. If a person has been hurt in the past, the enemy will use that pain to shape their future. You were betrayed once, you will be betrayed again. You failed before, you will fail again. These thoughts replay like a broken record, keeping a person in bondage to their history. The past becomes a prison when it is allowed to dictate the present. In the battle for the mind, emotions are often used as weapons. Fear, anxiety, and hopelessness are not just feelings, they are tools that shape decisions. A fearful person will avoid opportunities. An anxious person will struggle to focus. A hopeless person will stop trying. Emotions, when left unchecked, become the enemy's greatest instrument of control. The battle is also fought through distractions. Not every attack appears as negativity. Some come in the form of meaningless engagements. A person can be kept from their destiny, not by fear, but by busyness. Time wasted on trivial matters is time stolen from purpose. Social media, entertainment, unnecessary conflicts, these are all subtle ways to keep the mind occupied with everything except what truly matters. A key strategy in this battle is deception through familiarity. The mind does not reject what it is accustomed to. If a lie is repeated long enough, it becomes accepted as truth. This is why people remain trapped in destructive cycles they are comfortable in them. Change requires awareness, and awareness is what the enemy seeks to prevent. As long as a person does not recognize the attack on their mind, they will continue to fight the wrong battles. The enemy knows that a person cannot rise above their thoughts. If the mind is defeated, the body will follow. If thoughts are corrupted, actions will reflect that corruption. The mind is the command center of destiny. Whoever controls it controls the future. Monitoring spirits operate in secrecy, studying individuals without their knowledge. They do not attack directly, but observe, collect information, and wait for the right moment to act. Their primary goal is to hinder progress by identifying weaknesses, patterns, and vulnerabilities that can be exploited. These spirits do not work randomly. They follow bloodlines, generational patterns, and personal histories. If a person's ancestors struggled with poverty, addiction, or failure, monitoring spirits ensure those struggles continue. They manipulate circumstances to keep individuals trapped in cycles that have plagued their lineage for generations. They function as spiritual informants, feeding information to higher-ranking forces. Every fear spoken aloud, every doubt entertained, and every weakness exposed becomes a weapon in their hands. They listen to conversations, study emotional reactions, and take note of recurring struggles. Nothing is wasted in their observation. A person's habits, desires, and ambitions are carefully analyzed. If someone desires success, they will be monitored for signs of impatience, pride, or greed. If a person seeks love, their past heartbreaks and insecurities will be examined. The goal is to determine the most effective way to delay, discourage, or destroy them. These spirits operate subtly. They do not always cause direct harm, but influence circumstances to create obstacles. If a person is on the verge of a breakthrough, unexpected distractions, conflicts, or temptations arise. Promising opportunities suddenly fall through. Close relationships become strained without reason. Confusion sets in where clarity once existed. The influence of monitoring spirits extends beyond external events. They manipulate thoughts, planting seeds of fear and doubt. A person who was once confident in their calling may suddenly feel inadequate. A leader who once stood firm may begin questioning their abilities. The enemy does not need to physically hinder someone when he can make them doubt themselves. Dreams and ambitions are often under surveillance. The moment a person takes steps toward their destiny, resistance increases. Delays become frequent, doors that should open remain shut, and progress slows down inexplicably. This is not always due to lack of effort. Sometimes unseen forces are working to prevent advancement. Monitoring spirits create patterns of stagnation. Individuals may find themselves repeatedly starting over, unable to maintain success. Every time they reach a certain level, something happens to pull them back. This cycle is not coincidence. It is an orchestrated strategy to keep them from fulfilling their potential. They use familiar spirits to reinforce strongholds. If a person has battled depression, negative thoughts will be whispered at strategic moments. If someone struggles with addiction, triggers will be placed in their path. These spirits work through people, circumstances, and even past wounds to keep individuals bound. Their attacks often increase during key moments. Before an important decision, they introduce confusion. Before a major breakthrough, they create exhaustion. Before a divine connection, they stir unnecessary conflict. Their goal is to manipulate timing, ensuring that people miss divine appointments. They do not work alone, but through people and situations. A person trying to break free from negativity may suddenly be surrounded by toxic influences. A believer seeking to grow spiritually may encounter distractions that keep them from prayer. These spirits orchestrate events to keep individuals entangled in distractions. Jealousy and envy are among their tools. They influence others to turn against those who are progressing. Betrayal, false accusations, and slander often stem from unseen manipulation. These spirits know that isolation weakens a person, so they create division where there should be unity. They use emotional triggers to keep people in bondage. If rejection has been a past wound, they will ensure situations arise to reinforce that pain. If fear has been a struggle, they will introduce uncertainties to magnify it. They capitalize on past trauma, ensuring it remains fresh in the mind. They also exploit ignorance. Many people dismiss their influence, believing that life's struggles are purely natural. As long as these spirits remain undetected, they continue their work without resistance. The greatest deception they promote is convincing people they do not exist. Monitoring spirits ensure that every step forward is met with resistance. Just when things seem to be improving, another setback occurs. The cycle continues until the person either gives up or recognizes the true source of opposition. The battle is not always external sometimes. It is the unseen forces working against destiny. Distraction is one of the most effective weapons used by the enemy. Unlike direct attacks, which are easy to recognize, distractions appear harmless, even necessary. They do not always come as obvious temptations, but often as seemingly good opportunities, unnecessary busyness, or emotional entanglements that steal focus from what truly matters. The enemy does not always need to destroy a person to render them ineffective. He only needs to keep them occupied with things that do not contribute to their destiny. Time wasted on meaningless activities is time stolen from purpose. The longer a person remains distracted, the further they drift from their calling. Distractions often come in the form of entertainment. Endless scrolling through social media, binge-watching television, and engaging in fruitless debates consume hours that could be spent on personal growth, prayer, or pursuing divine assignments. What seems like relaxation can quickly turn into addiction, keeping the mind occupied with trivial matters instead of meaningful progress. Unnecessary conflicts are another major distraction. The enemy knows that strife drains energy and shifts focus away from what truly matters. Arguments with family, disputes with coworkers, and misunderstandings in friendships are often orchestrated to consume mental and emotional energy. Instead of focusing on purpose, individuals become entangled in proving a point, defending themselves, or holding on to resentment. Relationships can also be used as distractions. Not every connection is beneficial. Some are designed to drain, delay, or derail. The enemy often sends people who appear supportive but subtly introduce doubt, negativity, or compromise. Romantic relationships, friendships, or partnerships that pull a person away from their spiritual and personal growth are not coincidences, they are strategic diversions. Financial struggles can serve as another form of distraction. When an individual is constantly worried about money, they become preoccupied with survival rather than purpose. The pursuit of wealth can become an obsession, leading them to chase material gain at the expense of their spiritual and mental well-being. The enemy does not mind if a person is successful financially, as long as they are spiritually bankrupt. Procrastination is a hidden distraction that often goes unnoticed. The belief that there is always more time causes people to delay crucial actions. Every postponed decision, every abandoned goal, and every unfinished task contributes to stagnation. The enemy does not need to stop a person completely. He only needs to convince them to delay their progress indefinitely. Overcommitment is another subtle distraction. Taking on too many responsibilities, even good ones, can become a burden that prevents a person from focusing on their true calling. The enemy understands that when a person is stretched too thin, they become exhausted and ineffective in all areas of their life. Busyness does not always equate to productivity, and many are trapped in cycles of activity without progress. Distractions also come in the form of emotional burdens. The enemy uses guilt, shame, and regret to keep individuals stuck in the past. Instead of moving forward, they constantly replay mistakes, question their worth, and doubt their ability to succeed. Mental and emotional energy is drained by battles that have already been won, leaving little strength to fight for the future. Fear-based distractions are another common tactic. When a person is consumed by fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, they hesitate to take action. Every time they consider stepping into their purpose, they are bombarded with what-if scenarios that paralyze them. The enemy does not have to physically block a path if he can convince someone that the path is too dangerous to take. Unanswered prayers and delayed blessings can also serve as distractions. When people focus more on what they lack than on what they are called to do, they lose sight of their mission. The enemy uses impatience to plant seeds of frustration, causing individuals to question God's timing and, eventually, their faith. False urgency is another effective tool of distraction. Not everything that appears urgent is important. The enemy often creates artificial crises, making individuals feel pressured to deal with issues that are not truly significant. This keeps them occupied with putting out fires instead of building their future. Health issues, while real and serious, can also be manipulated as distractions. Chronic fatigue, unexplained illnesses, and sudden afflictions often arise at crucial moments of decision-making and progress. The enemy knows that a weary body leads to a weary mind, and when physical health is compromised, spiritual and mental resilience weaken as well. The enemy also exploits routine. When daily life becomes monotonous and repetitive, a person may stop seeking growth. Comfort zones become prisons, trapping individuals in cycles of mediocrity. The deception lies in the belief that nothing is wrong, when in reality, stagnation is just as dangerous as failure. Opportunities, though seemingly beneficial, can also be distractions. Not every open door is from God. Some opportunities lead to greater burdens, unnecessary struggles, and misaligned priorities. The enemy often presents counterfeit blessings, things that appear good but ultimately lead to spiritual and emotional exhaustion. Distractions do not always come suddenly. Sometimes they creep in gradually. A little compromise here, a slight detour there, and before long, a person is far from their intended path. The most dangerous distractions are the ones that feel harmless, those that slowly consume time and energy without immediate consequences. The enemy understands that a focused mind is a powerful mind. His goal is not always to destroy, but to divert, to keep individuals entangled in lesser things while their true purpose remains unfulfilled. Delays are not always natural sometimes. They are orchestrated to hinder progress. The enemy understands that timing is crucial, and if he can slow a person down, he can weaken their resolve. Setbacks are not always failures. They are often strategic barriers placed to create frustration, exhaustion, and discouragement. Not all delays are caused by personal mistakes. Many times, external resistance prevents opportunities from materializing. A person may work hard, prepare diligently, and do everything right, yet success remains just out of reach. These delays are not coincidences. They are designed to wear down faith and create doubt. Repeated patterns of near breakthroughs, followed by sudden obstacles, are clear signs of spiritual interference. Opportunities that seem within reach mysteriously fall apart at the last moment. Promises made by others are broken without explanation. Doors that should have opened remain shut despite every effort to push forward. One of the enemy's primary tactics is to make delays feel personal. The longer a person waits, the more they question themselves. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not meant to succeed. These thoughts are carefully introduced to make individuals blame themselves for circumstances beyond their control. Delays also serve to test patience. The enemy knows that prolonged waiting can lead to poor decision-making. When people feel stuck, they become desperate. Desperation leads to compromise, accepting less than what was intended, settling for relationships that are not aligned, or pursuing shortcuts that lead to long-term consequences. Some setbacks are designed to create cycles of frustration. Every time a person regains momentum, something happens to slow them down again. Unforeseen emergencies arise, financial difficulties increase, or distractions consume time and energy. These cycles are not accidental. They are carefully timed to maintain a state of stagnation. Setbacks also attack confidence. A person who has experienced repeated failures begins to expect them. Instead of stepping out boldly, they proceed with hesitation. Instead of taking risks, they hold back. This self-doubt ensures that even when the right opportunity does come, they may be too fearful to seize it. Monitoring spirits play a role in these delays by studying patterns and waiting for key moments to strike. If they recognize that a person is on the verge of a breakthrough, they introduce unexpected hindrances. The closer someone gets to success, the stronger the resistance becomes. Divine timing is often manipulated through these tactics. Blessings that should have arrived months or years earlier remain stuck. People meant to help suddenly become unavailable. Plans that seem certain are disrupted without warning. The goal is to create frustration so that individuals give up before they reach their appointed time. Another effect of setbacks is isolation. When a person experiences constant disappointments, they withdraw. They stop sharing their dreams, stop seeking guidance, and distance themselves from supportive relationships. The enemy thrives in isolation, knowing that an isolated person is easier to manipulate. Health setbacks are another form of delay. Just when a person gains momentum, physical ailments arise. Unexplained fatigue, recurring illnesses, or sudden injuries occur at key moments. These health issues are not always random. They are sometimes attacks meant to slow down progress and drain energy. Financial blockages are a frequent tool of manipulation. Money that should have arrived is delayed. Business deals fall through. Unexpected expenses arise at the worst possible time. These financial pressures shift focus from purpose to survival, keeping people too occupied with worry to make meaningful progress. Emotional setbacks come through discouragement. The enemy introduces thoughts of failure, regret, and hopelessness. Every past mistake is magnified, making it seem like forward movement is impossible. When discouragement is strong enough, people stop trying, which is exactly what the enemy desires. Relationships can also be sources of delay. The wrong connections slow progress, introducing drama, betrayal, or unnecessary conflict. Some people enter a person's life to waste their time, distract them, or push them into the wrong direction. Others, who were meant to help, are kept at a distance through misunderstandings and miscommunication. Procrastination is often reinforced through spiritual attacks. The motivation to act disappears. The energy to move forward is drained. Tasks that once felt exciting suddenly feel overwhelming. These attacks do not always come as direct opposition sometimes. They manifest as simple lethargy. Missed opportunities are another consequence of manipulation. When a person hesitates too long due to delays, they may lose what was originally meant for them. The enemy ensures that by the time they are ready to act, the opportunity has passed. The longer delays last, the more they affect faith. Some people stop praying, believing that nothing will change. Others stop pursuing their goals, convinced that every attempt will lead to disappointment. These delays are meant to weaken spiritual strength and create surrender to stagnation. The enemy knows that every destiny has an appointed time. By causing delays, he does not need to change the plan. He only needs to ensure that it happens too late. The right opportunity at the wrong time is just as ineffective as missing the opportunity altogether. Fear is not always an emotion. It is often a weapon. The enemy does not need to physically block a person's path when he can make them too afraid to walk it. The mere suggestion of failure is enough to make many hesitate. The greatest battles are often fought in the mind before they ever manifest in reality. Doubt is a silent destroyer. It does not come with force, but seeps in slowly, making a person question their abilities, purpose, and worth. It creates an inner dialogue that repeats past failures, magnifies present struggles, and distorts future possibilities. A confident person moves with authority, but a doubtful person hesitates, second-guesses, and delays their own progress. The enemy understands that fear neutralizes faith. Faith allows people to step into the unknown, believing in possibilities beyond what is seen. Fear, on the other hand, creates limitations. It whispers every reason why something won't work, why failure is inevitable, and why risk is too dangerous. A person controlled by fear avoids stepping into their purpose. Monitoring spirits take note of personal fears and reinforce them at key moments. If a person fears public failure, every attempt at success will be met with thoughts of humiliation. If someone fears rejection, situations will arise to magnify that insecurity. These spirits do not create fear out of nothing. They build upon what already exists, making it stronger. Fear creates missed opportunities. A person might receive a divine idea, but hesitate to act on it. The longer they wait, the more reasons they find to justify inaction. Meanwhile, someone else moves forward with a similar idea and prospers. Fear does not just delay progress. It often transfers opportunities to those bold enough to act. Doubt turns strengths into weaknesses. A person might be skilled in a particular area, but if they doubt themselves, they will hesitate to use their gifts. The enemy does not need to remove someone's talent. He only needs to convince them that it is not enough. People who are capable of great things become paralyzed by thoughts of inadequacy. Fear of failure often leads to self-sabotage. Some people quit before they even try, believing that it is better to never start than to start and fail. Others intentionally make mistakes or delay progress, creating excuses for why they did not succeed. The fear of not being good enough leads them to avoid trying altogether. The power of suggestion is one of the enemy's greatest tactics. A single negative thought, if entertained long enough, can grow into an overwhelming reality. A person might start with confidence, but, over time, be worn down by persistent doubts. The enemy knows that repeated lies eventually feel like truth if they are not rejected. Fear also disguises itself as wisdom. Many people convince themselves that their hesitation is being realistic when, in reality, they are simply afraid. They weigh every possible outcome, waiting for a moment of absolute certainty before taking action. That moment never comes, because true progress always requires faith. Doubt affects relationships as well. A person who doubts their worth will attract people who reinforce those insecurities. They will settle for relationships that drain them, believing they cannot do better. Fear of being alone keeps them in unhealthy connections, delaying the right relationships from coming into their life. The enemy uses fear to delay obedience. Some people know exactly what they are meant to do but remain frozen by the unknown. Every time they consider taking action, another what if enters their mind. What if they fail? What if people reject them? What if they are not ready? The longer they dwell on these thoughts, the more impossible their purpose seems. Anxiety is another tool used to magnify fear. Instead of focusing on the present, a person is overwhelmed by everything that could go wrong in the future. The mind races with endless scenarios of disaster. This state of constant worry drains mental and emotional energy, leaving no strength to move forward. Fear of judgment keeps many people from stepping into their calling. They worry about what others will think, how they will be perceived, and whether they will be criticized. This fear keeps them silent when they should speak, hidden when they should be seen, and inactive when they should take action. Doubt creates instability. A person who constantly questions their path will never make firm decisions. They will start and stop projects, change directions frequently, and second-guess every step. The enemy does not need to block progress if he can make a person unsure of which way to go. Fear turns small challenges into insurmountable obstacles. A minor setback feels like a sign to quit. A single negative comment is taken as proof that failure is inevitable. Instead of pushing through difficulties, fear convinces people to retreat at the first sign of trouble. The more a person listens to fear, the stronger it becomes. Fear thrives on attention. Every time it is entertained, it grows, making it harder to resist. The only way to weaken fear is to act despite it. Those who wait for fear to disappear before moving forward will never take a step. Fear distorts perception. What should be seen as an opportunity is viewed as a trap. What should be seen as growth is viewed as a risk. The enemy manipulates vision, making people see barriers where there are none, problems where solutions exist, and failure where success is possible. Doubt removes clarity. A person who once knew their purpose becomes confused. They overanalyze every decision, questioning whether they are on the right path. The more they analyze, the more uncertain they feel. The enemy thrives on confusion, knowing that an uncertain person rarely takes action. Fear is the foundation of many other spiritual attacks. It leads to procrastination, stagnation, insecurity, and missed opportunities. The longer a person remains in fear, the more they delay their destiny. The enemy does not have to physically stop someone, he only has to make them believe they cannot succeed. Recognizing the battle is the first step to overcoming it. Many people remain trapped because they do not realize they are under attack. The enemy's greatest trick is to make his influence appear as natural struggles, bad luck, mere coincidences, or personal shortcomings. Once a person understands that their delays, fears, distractions, and doubts are being orchestrated, they can begin to fight back with awareness and strategy. The mind is the primary battleground. Every attack starts with a thought, whether it is fear, discouragement, or self-doubt. The enemy does not need to physically stop someone when he can manipulate their thinking. Overcoming these attacks requires constant renewal of the mind, rejecting every lie and replacing it with truth. People who take control of their thoughts take control of their destiny. Faith must be stronger than fear. Fear thrives on uncertainty, making people hesitant to act. Faith, on the other hand, moves forward despite not knowing all the details. The enemy creates fear to keep people stagnant, but faith demands movement. Even small steps in the right direction weaken the power of fear. Discipline is required to break free from distractions. The enemy will always provide something to pull attention away from purpose. Whether it is entertainment, unnecessary drama, or toxic relationships, distractions must be removed with intentionality. A focused person is difficult to manipulate, while a distracted person is easily controlled. Recognizing patterns is essential. Many people experience the same cycles, getting close to success, but never reaching it, meeting the wrong people repeatedly, or facing the same struggles year after year. These are not random, they are strategic barriers placed to maintain stagnation. Identifying these patterns allows people to break them. Speaking with authority is necessary. The enemy works through subtlety, planting thoughts of defeat and discouragement. These thoughts cannot simply be ignored. They must be countered. Words hold power, and what is spoken repeatedly becomes reality. Declaring victory, purpose, and strength destroys the seeds of fear and doubt before they take root. Taking action is one of the greatest ways to break spiritual attacks. Fear wants people to hesitate, doubt wants them to stop, and distractions want them to delay. The most effective way to resist these forces is to move forward anyway. Every step taken in the right direction weakens the hold of spiritual opposition. Removing toxic influences is crucial. Some people and environments drain energy, introduce negativity, and reinforce doubts. The enemy often uses relationships to slow progress. It is necessary to evaluate connections and remove those that hinder growth, no matter how familiar or comfortable they may seem. Consistent prayer and meditation strengthen resistance. Attacks often come when spiritual defenses are low. People who stay connected to their purpose through prayer, self-reflection, and intentional focus are harder to derail. The enemy looks for moments of weakness, but a person who remains grounded is less vulnerable. Understanding timing helps prevent frustration. The enemy manipulates delays to create impatience, making people act too soon or give up entirely. Recognizing that there is an appointed time for every breakthrough eliminates the power of discouragement. Delays are not always denials, but rushing ahead can lead to unnecessary setbacks. Forgiveness is a hidden weapon against spiritual attacks. Holding on to past hurts creates emotional burdens that slow progress. The enemy thrives in resentment, knowing that an unforgiving heart is weighed down by anger and bitterness. Releasing offenses frees the mind and spirit, making it easier to move forward without emotional distractions. Developing resilience is essential. Attacks will come, but their impact depends on how strong a person is when they arrive. The enemy targets those who are easily discouraged, but a person who refuses to quit becomes a difficult target. The more a person endures, the stronger they become, making future attacks less effective. Stepping out of the comfort zone weakens the enemy's influence. Many people remain stagnant because they are afraid of the unknown. The enemy uses familiarity as a trap, keeping people in places of mediocrity. Growth requires discomfort, and breaking free means embracing challenges instead of avoiding them. Letting go of the past is necessary. Many people remain tied to past mistakes, old failures, or previous disappointments. The enemy repeatedly reminds them of what went wrong to keep them from believing in what can go right. Moving forward requires releasing old burdens and focusing on new opportunities. Maintaining gratitude shifts perspective. The enemy uses negativity to make people focus on what is lacking instead of what is available. Gratitude counters discouragement by highlighting progress, no matter how small. A grateful mindset is resistant to despair and more likely to recognize opportunities instead of obstacles. Surrounding oneself with the right people is a defense against attacks. Isolation makes a person vulnerable, but a strong community provides encouragement, guidance, and support. The enemy often tries to separate people from positive influences, knowing that those who walk alone are easier to defeat. Understanding that every struggle has a purpose prevents discouragement. The enemy wants people to believe their challenges are meaningless, but every battle builds strength, wisdom, and resilience. What was meant to break someone can become the very thing that propels them forward if they refuse to give up. Breaking free from spiritual attacks requires persistence. The enemy does not stop after one failed attempt. He continues to introduce doubt, fear, and distraction. The key to victory is consistent resistance. Those who refuse to be moved by circumstances eventually overcome every obstacle placed in their way. Every person has a choice: either remain controlled by fear, doubt, and distractions, or take intentional steps toward purpose. The enemy cannot stop those who are determined. The moment a person decides to keep moving forward, no matter what, the power of spiritual attacks begins to weaken.